valentine@uhc.com. If you have any questions on any of what I cover or don't cover today, or feel free to reach out to your agent manager. If you do not know who your agent manager is, please send me an email or give me a call, and I will be happy to guide you to who that agent manager is that is locally to your area. I'm based out of our Green Bay, Wisconsin office, but much like all of you guys, we're all kind of working from home and working remotely as to avoid human contact and the possibility of spreading, of course, germs and the virus. So with that being said, there is a chat function. I have everybody on mute, so you should only be able to see my screen and hear my voice. You guys have all probably been on WebExes where everybody starts dialing in and you hear the beeps and everybody talking or cameras on. We're not going to be doing that here, but if you do have a question, please enter into the chat. If I have time, I'll try to get to it before we end. If we run out of time, again, please send me an email at al.valentine@uhc.com or give me a call at 920-661-4842. Without further ado, I'm not going to get into, again, too much of the non-essential stuff. I'm just going to go right into some of the election periods that you're going to benefit from. Some of these you may be familiar with already. Some of it you may not. But what I want to get to is the time frames that some of these are available. I've ran into situations where election periods are being used in time frames that are not applicable, or being future dated when they're not able to be future dated, and thus messing up kind of potentially something that could have happened with the person. Again, I understand there's a lot of content out there. There's a lot of logistics with election periods. But what I do ask is that if you do have a question, please reach out to Producer Help Desk or reach out to myself or your agent manager. We'd be more than happy to help guide you into what the proper election period is or what the proper time frame of that would be. All right, so that being said, I want to talk firstly, and some of this will be a little bit small. I do apologize. There's just no real easy way to make election period information in a very simple user interface. This is probably the best it's going to get. Some of this information comes from the telesales job aids, but it's all applicable to you guys as well. So if this is small, just hear my voice. Try to get to as much as you can on writing some of this down. So first I want to talk about change in residence. And I'm kind of going to read some of this here. So change in residence, of course, is for people that have moved out of their service, their planned service area. What's the qualification? Again, moving out of the service area, or returning or living outside the U.S. Or if there's a new plan available because of their change in move or such. Also, this applies to people that are coming out of incarceration. So obviously once they get their Part B back, and because of coming out of jail or incarceration, this would apply to them as well. As you can see, what elections does it allow? It goes for Medicare Advantage, MAPD, so Medicare Advantage with prescription drug plan, MA only, PDP, or they can disenroll from their plan if they want to go back to original Medicare. It's available obviously all year. When does it begin? It begins the month before the move date, or the month that they notify us, okay? If the plan is notified by Medicare or another source, it begins 6 months after the plan is made aware of the change for MA, or 12 months for PDP. For incarcerated members, again, it begins when they are released, and it ends 2 months after the move, okay? Now, this can be future available. Of course, we want to make the plan effective the month after their move date. So if they're moving in, let's just say middle of June, then their new plan would start on July 1st. But sometimes you might run into somebody that perhaps obviously depending on your footprint that you serve within the state, you might run into somebody that is planning on moving to just a different part of the state, and they want to keep you as an agent, and they might give you a heads up like 2 months in advance or such. Obviously, you want a future date to that appropriate month of when they're going to be moving. So that's why it is able to be future dated. All right. Any questions on that? Again, please give me a call. Let me know. Sometimes I know that moves can get a little tricky. There's about 17 election periods that I'm going to be covering here. There's about 50, but a lot of those are either not applicable to us, or it's just not common enough where I didn't want to spend much time on it. Individual dropping Medigap through trial period. Obviously, these are, if you're not familiar with it, these are the people that had a Medigap policy, and then so it says the SEP is available for consumers who drop their Medicare supplement coverage or Medigap and enroll into a Medicare Advantage plan for the first time. So remember, this is somebody that has spent time on Medicare Supplement the entire time and now want to try Medicare Advantage for the first time. And then let's say they drop it. So they want to enroll back into their Medicare Supplement plan. They have that 12-month trial period to be able to do that, to enroll into a prescription drug plan, and of course then go back to their Medicare Supplement plan. Okay, this particular election period is next month only. So it can't be future dated. It's something that would have to happen right away the next month. Okay, this is basically for disenrollment and enrolling into a prescription drug plan. Okay. Contract termination. Some of this you probably would have run into already. It's a very rare situation where Medicare will term a plan on an insurance carrier, but it may happen. Of course, we don't know, what the situations could be. Sometimes it could happen in the middle of the year. You don't run into it too much, but obviously, as you can see here, this SEP is available when a Medicare Advantage or Part D plan closes or changes its contract with CMS and the consumer is forced to disenroll from the plan mid-year. Members are notified 60 days before the proposed date of termination or modification of the plan, so a member can enroll into their new plan. And again, this is to qualify. You got to be losing MA or PDP due to a plan term. This does not apply to those people. But if they lost their plan, for a reason other than non-payment, this obviously could constitute for that. It is something that you would use for MAPD or PDP, as again, this is surrounding mostly on prescription coverage. It could be something that could happen at all times of the year, and it begins the month that the consumer was advised of the loss of coverage. It ends 2 months after either the loss or reduction occurs or the consumer received notice, whichever is later. This includes consumers turned for out of area, but did not move out of area. You have probably run into some of those people that have been turned out of their plan. We've sent out letters to them asking them to verify their address because maybe something happened in the system that notified us or Medicare that there might have been a move or they're no longer there. That could include return mail by the Postal Service, and sometimes they get termed. Those people are eligible to use this election period. Okay, and again, they will always have received typically a notification. If they legitimately did move, of course, then you might use SEP move or change in residence. Okay, this could also apply to people that have VA benefits. And in the calendar year, if the VA stops covering a medication that they were covering within that same calendar year, this could apply as well. Again, any questions, please reach out to me or your agent manager. Next one I want to cover real quick here is loss of EGHP, employer group health plan. Okay, so this is for consumers who lose employer group coverage, either voluntarily or involuntarily. They can use this SEP to enroll into a new plan. And of course, it requires them losing employer coverage. It's pretty straightforward. It could be for MA, MAPD, or PDP. It could happen at any time of the year. It begins the month that the employer group plan allows for disenrollment or the date that COBRA ends. And it ends the last day of the second month after their employer group coverage ends. Okay? And of course, this one is able to be future dated according to the beginning and end dates, because somebody could tell you ahead of time, hey, Agent Smith, I'm going to be losing my coverage in the in the next 2 months because I'm retiring. So obviously, you can future date an application of that source for that reason. Okay. Go on here. Loss of MAPD and Part B. So if a consumer loses Medicare Part B but still has Part A, and it is involuntary disenrolled from their Medicare Advantage plan, they can use this SEP to enroll into a PDP. This might apply in some cases where someone might stop paying their Part B. And you've probably run into situations like that. Again, they still have Part A, so they're eligible for a prescription drug plan. It could happen at any time of the year, and it begins upon notification of the loss of Medicare Part B, and it ends 2 full months after the month of notification. Now, quick note here, and again, some of this information is for telesales, but I'll show you how it applies. So it says, members who lost Medicare Part A or B and are working with Social Security to get it back have the possibility to be reinstated back into their Medicare Advantage plan. Now, there's a little note there for telesales, but let me tell you guys this. So you might run into somebody that lost that Part B, for instance, but they're working with Social Security on getting it back. A lot of times what Social Security does is they actually will just reinstate that Part B for them, and if we pull it up on the Medicare verification system, it will seem like there was never a gap. They don't separate the dates. It almost seems like there was never a gap. The key thing to do and the right thing to do is to have that person call customer service to get reinstated back if they've already gotten it back by Social Security. Here's why. Let's say that a few months go by and finally they get it back, and again, and Social Security just reinstates it and it seems seamless, but you decide that you actually want to write a new plan instead. Now that person could be subject to a late enrollment penalty because they've had a gap in their coverage. So in effort to avoid that late enrollment penalty, if that exact scenario has happened, we would want customer service to just reinstate their plan so that the plan also and their prescription coverage also seems seamless and like they actually never had a gap in that coverage. Any questions on that, please let us know. We always want to do the right thing for the consumer. Loss of S&P status. This is for consumers who lose their S&P eligibility. Focus, of course, around the chronic situation, okay? So this could be such as unverified chronic conditions, so consumers enrolling in chronic special need plans whose chronic condition could not be verified are able to use this SEP. Qualifications means that they would have been enrolled in an S&P, the special needs plan, and no longer meet the eligibility criteria, or they're enrolling in a chronic special needs plan and their chronic condition could not be verified. This is who this would apply to, and of course this could be allowed for MAPD, MA only, or PDP. It could happen at any time of the year. It begins the month they were notified of the loss of eligibility, and it ends 2 full months. If it's an unverified chronic condition, it ends 2 full months following the notification. If it's an S&P eligibility change, then it's 3 months after the month of disenrollment. If you look at the effective date, this is a next month only type of situation. So you can only do an application for the following month. You can't future date this one. Dual LIS change in status. This is for consumers who gain or lose their assistance, Medicaid or extra help, or have a change in eligibility, or change in their eligibility level. Then you can use this SEP to change plans or disenroll. So to qualify, again, it must be somebody that's becoming eligible for Medicaid, full or partial, or becoming eligible for LIS, or losing the eligibility of any of those types of assistance. Okay, and of course that could be to enroll in MAPD, PDP, or disenroll altogether. It could happen at any time of the year. The eligibility begins upon notification or effective date of the change, whichever is earlier. And it ends 3 months after the notification or effective date of the change, whichever is later. And again, this one is a next month only situation. You can only use dual LIS change in status for a next month effective. It cannot be future dated. If you do future date this, just as an FYI, if you do future date it, because maybe you are unaware or you forgot, the system or the enrollment department is automatically going to choose the appropriate effective date for that election period, as they always do, which would then make that plan effective the next month for your person. And you could see how that could cause some issues depending on the situation. Okay, any questions, please let us know. One of the most common ones right now, of course, is dual LIS maintaining. And of course, since we are in April, we are in a new quarter. for their eligibility. Okay, a lot of writing on this one, but I'll read it. So it says, this is for consumers who qualify for Medicaid or extra help assist or the extra help assistance. They get that quarterly election period to be able to change their plan. Qualifications, to qualify, you must qualify for Medicaid, full or partial, or LIS. You also cannot have the CARA limitation. CARA is for the, as you might guys remember, this came out about a year or so ago. It's for the people that have the high vulnerability to opioid addiction. CMS regulates a little bit on the amount of times they can change plan. Of course, that is all to be verified by producer help desk. And of course, to qualify, you cannot have already used this election period within that quarter. And it's available for MA, MAPD, PDP, you're able to disenroll. It's available through from January 1st through September 30th. And that is again because come the next month, then we're in AEP mode, okay? And of course, for those of you in Harris County, this is available all year if it is an MMP situation. It begins when the consumer becomes eligible for their Medicaid or LIS, and it just lasts as long as they continue to have those benefits, okay? This SEP is considered used based on the month in which the individual makes the election, okay, or when the when the application is made. Any questions on that? Please reach out to us. And again, all of this, whether it's CAR status, if they're dual eligible, and whether they use this election period or not, please contact Producer Help Desk before every enrollment that you're going to be using this on, so that they can verify that for you. I'm not going to cover ICEP itself. That's a pretty common one that you guys should probably already know, but I do want to cover ICEP for delayed Part B. This is for when a consumer delays enrolling into Medicare Part B coverage for more than 3 months after entitlement when they were first eligible. They have 3 months prior and up to the Part B start date to use this election period to enroll into a plan. Okay, so to qualify, you got to have Part A and enrolling into Part B for the first time after delaying it for more than 3 months. This would be available for MA or MAPD. It could happen at any time of the year. Of course, you could run into somebody in this situation at any time. This begins 3 full months before their Medicare Part B effective date, and it ends the day before their Medicare Part B effective date. I've seen situations where people want to use this election period on the month that somebody got their Part B. You're already too late, then you got to find a different election period. So the application has to be done before that Part B effective date. And as you can see on the effective date over here, it has to be the same as that Part B effective date. You can't future date it, or if they call you ahead of time, within those 3 months, you can't just make it for the next month. It has to be when that Part B starts, obviously. IEP2. This is somebody's initial enrollment period 2. This is for consumers who are eligible for Medicare before 65 due to a disability, of course. And they can use this election period because they're turning now 65 years old. So of course, to qualify, that means they were eligible for Medicare prior to age 65. Now we're turning 65 and have not yet enrolled using IEP2, of course, so they haven't burnt that election period. It works for MA, MAPD, PDP. MA only would have something different to it, but I'm not necessarily going to cover it because that's very rare. It could happen at any time of the year, and again, it's very much like the original IEP. So they got the 3 full months before their 65th birthday, and it ends 3 full months after their 65th birthday month. Okay? And of course, this could be, as you can see here, so the effective date depends on when the application is submitted, because if they do it before their 65th birthday or 65th month, then it would start on their 65th birthday month. If they call you after that 65th birthday month, then it would start the next month, just like IEP. Okay? This one is not very common, but you may run into it sometimes. I think when I was an agent, I might have run into it a handful of times. Retro Medicare determination. And that's for consumers who become entitled to Medicare retroactively. They can use this SEP to enroll into a plan. To qualify, Medicare Part A, B, or D entitlement determination is made retroactively. This is something that they get in a letter form through CMS or through Medicare. Again, not very common, but sometimes you'll run into somebody that tells you, oh, I have Medicare, I haven't got my stuff. They get it a little bit later, and Medicare in that letter explains to them that their benefits actually started maybe a few months back. Not very common. It could have, if you run into somebody, it could be at any time of the year. It begins the month that they receive the notice of entitlement, and it ends for MA only, which we don't have in Harris County or the Houston market, so I'm not going to cover that. But for MAPDs or PDP, it ends the last day of the third month after the notification month, and this is only for next month. Can't be future dated. Institutional or OEPI, basically depending on whether you're going to be putting them in a PDP or MAPD will depend on if you're using OEPI or institutional. That doesn't mean they have to go into an institutional plan, but I remember as an agent sometimes I'd have somebody that wants the benefits of the plan, you know, and of course a visiting doctor to that facility is a network, but they want to be able to have access to some of that other stuff. This is what these two are going to be for. I'm not going to get into crazy detail about this as this is not overly common, but basically it's for people that are either living, moving in, or moving out of an institution. And that could, what is an institution in CMS's guidelines? It could be a skilled nursing facility, intermediate care facility, mentally disabled or psychiatric hospital unit, or a rehab hospital unit or long-term care hospital, or even a swing bed hospital. Any questions on that, please let us know. I know this one's a little bit tedious and I'm not getting too deep into it, but just know that there is something available for these folks that could potentially be used if you run into a situation like that, okay? OEP newly eligible. This one could happen at any time of the year. It is for, it says, if a newly eligible Medicare consumer enrolls into a Medicare Advantage plan during their IEP or ICEP, they have the first 3 months of their Medicare eligibility to change their mind and enroll into a different plan or disenroll altogether. And again, to qualify, you must have enrolled with a Medicare Advantage plan, with or without drug coverage, during your IEP or ICEP. And again, that gives them the 3 months to be able to change plan if they so like. As you can see here, can't be future dated. They can't just say, well, yeah, you know what, I don't really like this plan. You know, so I want to disenroll, but you know, why don't you do it for the next 2 months because I still want to, you know, use the gym one last time. No, if they make that decision, it can only happen for the next month effective date. Okay. And of course, 5-star, which we have 5-star plans just north of Houston. Please reach out to me, 920-661-4842, and I can tell you where some of those key locations would be. You know, we're going to be looking at primarily Polk and Jacinto Walker counties. But again, this is for consumers that want to or are in a 5-star, in an area that has a 5-star plan. They can enroll into that 5-star plan. It can only be used to enroll into that 5-star plan. And of course, it's available December 8th through November 30th, because the rest of it would be, you know, AEP. And it will only be for a next month effective. Can I repeat my phone number? Absolutely, 920-661-4842. Again, 920-661-4842. But yes, so 5-star plan, we do have some 5-star plans available. We do have a 5-star plan available. It's just north of Houston. It's not Houston proper, not Harris County, but please get with me and I will guide you to where you could definitely use that to your advantage. Lots of opportunity. And I think lastly, I want to cover here the special needs chronic, which is very self-explanatory. This is for consumers who qualify, having a qualifying chronic condition. You can only use this to enroll into that chronic plan. Okay? So you can't use SEP chronic because they have a qualifying chronic condition to enroll into just a regular non-chronic plan. It has to be used to enroll into that chronic plan itself. It could happen at any time of the year. And it has to be only a next month effective. You can't future date it. Okay? And of course, as you guys know, we have the chronic plans like our PPO plans. or the United Healthcare Gold PPO. We have Silver PPO for those that have also Medicaid on Silver, full Medicaid. But otherwise, any questions on that, please let us know. Our election period is exactly the same for MedSups and PDP plans. For these election periods, some of these have applied for prescription drug plans. MedSup have their own election, they have their own way of working. They don't really operate on election periods. MedSups operate on GI or, what do you call it? Oh boy, it's left my memory right now. But no, MedSups kind of operate on their own based on their eligibility. They don't use really these. Some of these would apply to PDP. All right, that's the end of the slideshow. But again, one of the things I want to just cover real quick is make sure that if you have access to Jarvis, which all of you should, here under Knowledge Center is the enrollment handbook. You open up the handbook and it has an entire section dedicated, this is what it looks like when you open it, to election periods. And it has scenarios that you could look at, you can kind of role play with them or just wrap your mind around if some of these are able to be used or not. I understand it's a lot of reading, it's a lot of content. Right now we all kind of have what I consider a little bit of downtime, so invest some time into studying some of these if you're not familiar, or really make an effort to reach out to your agent manager and discuss some of these things. There are some situations that you may run into that you're maybe oversee an election period, you think you have nothing there, when in reality you probably do. And we can help walk you through some of those situations, okay? Of course, all of you should be using Lean at this point. Lean has an election periods job aid, which is pretty much what this looks like as well. Okay, so if you have access to Lean and you want to access it quick, just go to Lean and it's right there on your dashboard of Lean. Please use the proper resources. Let us know. We are always more than happy to help you. I was just telling someone else the other day, I can't tell you how many appointments I've been on virtually to help an agent out. We are never, at least on my end, and I know none of my colleagues will ever judge you on not knowing some information or not knowing whether you have a proper election period or not. We prefer to help you out than for you to make a mistake and the time that you invested into helping that consumer is now out the window because perhaps now you have to go back and maybe tell the consumer, you know what, I'm sorry, what I did was not accurate. I have to have you re-sign this application. All in all, reach out to us or Producer Help Desk to be able to help you out. That is what our job is, and ultimately your success is what we're cheering for. So with that being said, I see some good comments here. I do have a call that I have to be on right now, but get with me again, al.valentine@uhc.com or 920-661-4842, and I'd be happy to help you guys out. I appreciate you taking the time to join today. Please continue joining all the other training sessions. I've gotten some great feedback and everybody has found them quite helpful. So without further ado, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you guys so much for being part of the Houston team and part of our Houston market. Have a wonderful rest of your day.